What's up, guys? It's your boy James, aka 68J, coming to you on this Wednesday. And I've got my friend and brother, Fred Rispoli. I'm very, very excited to have you on. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very good.
Well, I'm super excited. It's an honor having you on. I've been following you for quite some time. I love your posts. I love what you got going on. And there's some really interesting things that we're going to cover. But before we do, I'd like to hear more about who is Fred Rispoli before crypto, if you don't mind answering that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. I'm a lawyer right now. I started out as a teacher for a little bit and decided to go into the practice of law. Was working at a big law firm for a while and didn't get the warm and fuzzies from helping giant corporations figure out ways to screw over people. And then I decided to go into helping others. And so what I did was I mainly do a lot of personal injury, which was more specifically nursing home abuse and medical malpractice, people getting screwed by these giant healthcare corporations trying to help them out. And got into crypto around 2017 and started as a hobby, and then really was so fascinated by it that I ended up starting a law practice about it. So I still do a mix of the injury stuff as well as a lot more crypto law, but I'm going more and more crypto law as every day passes because it's just more fun and you don't have to deal with such sadness, I guess, when you see people's lives destroyed by these bad decisions of others. But on the same side of it, with a lot of crypto law stuff we do, a lot of it is people who get taken advantage of financially by the same type of mindset of corporate greed. How do we take people's coins? How do we screw them over from access to their wallets? And so there's still a lot of that too, but hopefully, or not hopefully, but fortunately, usually there's not a lot of physical pain and death related to it. So it's a little bit of a different mindset for me than what I'm used to on the law side.
Well, I love it. Definitely speaks volume as far as you defending the little guy, and that definitely is going to lead me into several other questions that I have here. Let me ask you this: when did you actually first have exposure to crypto, and what was it? Was it like the shiny Bitcoin that everybody else was getting into? What specifically got you into crypto, and when?
So, I heard about Bitcoin when it started in 2010, but I laughed because I didn't buy a damn thing. And then I remember one time watching it go to $600, thinking what an idiot I was. I really missed the boat when it was 100, but 600's over with. That's the end. But the first time I actually bought any crypto was in January of 2018. I was at a party with a friend, and we got introduced to a mutual acquaintance. And he started going off, as I'm sure a lot of the people in the audience have done to other family members and friends. Like, listen, I got to tell you about the crypto. And I'm just kind of like, well, I had enough drinks that I was completely fine listening to somebody go off on this cryptocurrency thing. And he started telling, and I knew about Bitcoin, but he started going off into all these other things like Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Stellar, EOS. And I'm like, oh man, I got to do this. And so I started getting into it then. And, fortunately it wasn't the absolute top of that cycle, but it was, pretty close to the top. Things were coming down. And then I had the whole next 2-3 years to accumulate. Watch my portfolio go down 40-50%, but I held on.
Right. That's awesome. That's it's crazy because a lot of people can't tell that story that they saw $100 Bitcoin. Because I know people right now probably give their left arm for $1,000 Bitcoin. That's pretty crazy. With that being said, you've seen this market, grow and the adoption take place. You saw here recently we had Bitcoin ETFs. We got all the way up to 73,000. We're having a little bit of a retracement. What do you think about the current market conditions right now, in your own personal opinion?
I don't know how to explain it, but it is just going the same way it always goes in these 4-year cycles. And everybody's got a lot of different reasons for why that is. And a lot of those reasons are valid, even if they're contradictory.
Right.
But it's just, and I am just a believer that we're still in these cycles until we're not. And so far we still are.
Yeah.
And right now we are and I define those cycles by the halving, whether that actually means anything or not. I could be convinced, but we are in that cycle, and we got that weird run up right before, mainly due to the ETFs. But I want to remind everybody, we actually haven't really hit the all-time high yet if you adjust it for inflation. So we're still, I mean, we did get high, but we're still a little off, because of all the rampant money printing we've seen happen to the US dollar. But we're still in that cycle. If you go by past cycles, there's a 5 to 8 month window of when the real craziness happens. So, to me, let's see, that's end of September, December. It could go a little bit longer after that. I'm selfishly hoping for January 1 of 25 before anything goes too crazy, because unlike the last run, I will actually sell and take some profits this time.
Yeah.
And I want to do that when I can move out of California from where I currently live, because I don't want to have to pay all those taxes. So I'm selfish. I don't want it to happen until January.
Yeah, smart guy. Yeah, that's something that my wife and I discussed and took action on here some time ago, and got over here to Vegas. As an attorney, I want to talk about this gentleman, John Deaton, what he's been doing for the community. Right now, he's running for Senate, but he's always, he always has himself in position to represent either the little guy or wherever he sees an injustice at. What do you think he means, or what does he mean to you, and what do you think he means as far as running for Senate for the crypto space?
I can't say too many good enough things about John, because he's just a phenomenal person and human being. And everybody knows. I would presume that most people watching this, know how great that he is. And so I don't, everyone has seen all of his public comments and everything, but I've had a chance to talk with him a couple of times in private on some things, and he's the exact same way, just full of character and class. And he's got what he's got is what is very similar, but he's got it in spades that a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys have, which is just that tenacity to not let somebody get bulldozed by the machine. Yeah. You just stand up and say, this is not going to happen. This isn't right. I'm going to do something about it. I don't care if nobody else is doing something about it. I got a plan, and I know how to win. Yeah. And so I tell everybody he can definitely win, and he should win. And he's got the ability to win all on his own, but it would be nice if people can help. And so, one of the things that I'm going to be doing is I will donate to the campaign, in stages, because that's how the money machines work here in political campaigns in the US. And I would tell everybody else, if you can donate, do it. It does not have to be a lot.
That's right.
Again, the way politics in the US here works is, even if you got a bunch of $5 donations, if you got 100,000 people to donate $5, that's more than that same amount of money being doubled from one particular donor, because it shows the other people that are in the machine. And John's not part of the machine, but he's right, trying to play in the machine's rules as best as he can. Is that, hey, this is a serious race. This is somebody's that got serious report, and now we're going to put a whole bunch more money in it. So that is something that, I encourage everybody to do. And really, for John and for everybody else, find out, send a message to your local congressperson or senator and ask them what their policy is on crypto, and just be tenacious, because they will take notice. I know it seems like they won't, but, if you start doing that now, it starts to get too late when we get into that August timeframe for them to make any changes, a politician to make changes in their policy platforms. But if you start doing it now, you can make a real difference. Just don't underestimate your ability to make a change. And John has never underestimated his ability to do that, and that's why he's doing this. And that's why I think he's going to win.
Right. One of the things I love about what you said early on, and we talked a little bit about your background and stuff, is you represent the little guy, the guy who's being treated unfairly. So I'm going to skip down to 7, but before I do, one of the things that I always try to remind people, I'm very well diversified, as I'm sure you are, but I a lot of times on this channel or on the show, we speak about XRP Ripple because it ties into so much in this space. It's just not like, I always use a reference of Shikaka coin. There's not a such coin, but I always say that just because I don't want to offend anyone's projects. So I say Shikaka coin. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can't really name another asset in this space that has been attacked, gone through all these different things, especially with the SEC. It ties into ETHGate. It ties into all the stuff with, going into Prometheum, China, Wang Chain, all these different things. And so I want to talk about, what is it? I know you have a current litigation going on right now with the SEC. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you got involved with that?
Sure. I guess first, for Shikaka coin, that could be a great meme coin. So it could be born right here on this channel. We can go ahead, put it together, send it out there, and maybe see if we can get to 200 million market cap in the next, 10 days. So don't disparage this this fictional coin that me and you are going to create.
But I got a millionaire friend of mine worth tens of millions of dollars. He's on here now. His name is Michael, owns a bunch of businesses here in California. But he's been saying the same thing to me, and I'm like, good gosh, this is crazy. So a great mind thinks alike.
Yeah, we can create 100 of them. We just have to have one pan out. So, okay, but to get to your question on what we're doing with the SEC. So the crypto firm that I started, it's called HODL Law. And, we help businesses that are on the crypto space. And we also help individuals that, have gotten screwed over in crypto and see if we can do anything to help them out. And so, yep, that's it. And the case we're doing against the SEC, it's a declaratory action, which is we're suing in federal court. We were started out in the Southern District of California, and we're basically saying we only want one thing. We only want a court to tell us, is Ethereum a security? Because the SEC won't tell us, and our law firm uses Ethereum as part of its practice. We use it to engage in transactions for the firm. When the firm does crypto-related transactions, we custody crypto for clients for certain reasons. We use it in the metaverse. And we obviously just transact on it, buying and selling for the firm's operating account as well. And so in those situations, which would be very similar to what everybody uses crypto for, just transactional or buying and selling, is Ethereum a security in those situations? And, this was filed in late 2022, and it was a little unclear what the SEC was going to do because they had the infamous Hinman speech where he says Ethereum's not a security, but they never actually said anything after that. And so in trying to get our lawsuit thrown out saying, hey, HODL Law doesn't have what's called legal standing. They're not allowed to sue us. We haven't made a decision on Ethereum, and we don't have to tell you about our decision on Ethereum. And, that was their position in front of a judge. And the court said, you know what, you don't have to tell us, and dismissed the case on standing ground. So not having anything to do with the merits. And we appealed that, and we've gone through the briefing already in the Ninth Circuit. And so we're waiting for a decision. And, if the Ninth Circuit sides with us, all that means is it goes back to the district court, and then we get to fight it out, which is what I love as a litigator. I get to put the people from the SEC under deposition, ask them questions, depose them, which, would just be one of the greatest joys I could possibly have. So I'm very hopeful that the Ninth Circuit will give it a good look and say, you know what? HODL Law, and really by extension, everybody else that uses it, they deserve a chance at knowing.
Right.
The SEC can say, sure, it is a security, and maybe the facts bear out that it is. But that's what the litigation is going to decide, and that should be something that's allowed instead of letting the SEC kind of hold back and say, well, we're not going to tell you. We get to make our decision at our time and place of choosing. And, it's been 9 years now since they've been looking at it, and they still haven't given us a decision. But I don't know if you want to get into it. I mean, there's some signs that they're gearing up to try and make some moves to say it is.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. Before I do, I've been to your channel. I don't know how many times I share your content, and I always wondered the hat to the back and the bling. But I just noticed that on the bling, that's an XRP coin there. I mean, talk about that picture there and what drove you to put that one up. That's awesome. I love it.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, shout out to Sumi for creating that NFT for me, and
wow.
I think it's awesome. He did them for John Deaton and for Bill Belisaris, two other attorneys, and for Jeremy Hogan, he did one too.
Okay.
I am a little bit laid back as a lawyer, so I'm not always rocking the tie, but I like to wear my jacket and a collared shirt. And a very avid fan of hip hop, and
love it, love it.
love spinning some bars myself. You know, when the drinks are flowing enough. I love wearing. You know, I've got a gold chain. I don't have as heavy or as big a bling as in the picture, but I'm hoping to get there one day. And so I always normally I've got my hat on backwards when I'm at the computer working on brief or something.
I love it.
And so there's a couple of inscriptions on those stars too, and then there's a message for the XRP folks in Latin on that medallion as well.
Oh wow! So no, I love it. You guys follow my buddy Fred over at Freddie Riz on X. And by the way, you know, one of these days, I don't know if you're coming to XRP Las Vegas, but one of these days we'll definitely have to connect, have a couple of drinks, and maybe we can come up with a couple bars on Chicago Coin. We'll figure it out here.
I'm gonna be there. Are you going?
Oh, yeah, I live here now, so I'm definitely.
Oh, that's right. You said you're okay. That's right. You're in Vegas. You'll be there. I'll be there too. I'm ready to throw down. It was a great atmosphere last year. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Met a lot of friends. And you know, just a quick promo for it is that, yeah, you know, the price action's been sideways for a year, but you know, it is a great community. I mean, you know it, I know it, and a lot of people here watching, and so it's just a fun time. And it also is fun and cathartic to be able to be like, man, F this price. And, oh, man. But you know what? Let's have another shot. And then, you know, it's just the night gets on to live a life of its own. And then you're like, I got to make the 9 o'clock start day for the conference. And you find the will to get up and show up at 9 a.m. and do it all over again.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible last year, and I'm looking forward to it this year as well. I'll be joined by my buddy Mike O. I want to go more into what you just talked about. You know, the SEC sat there, you know, whether it was in front of Congress, whether it's in front of all these different news outings that asked the question, is ETH a security? And they kept avoiding the question. And all of a sudden, now they come out with ETH as a security. And my question to you is, why now? You know, was the goal to let the giant get, or the monster get so big that it was untouchable? Is it because they're trying to give us a false sense of justice now after us begging to get that answer, as you have as well, just so they can get Ethereum ETF approval? I mean, what is your take on why now? Why call Ethereum a security now?
So I don't, if you want to tell me explicitly where they said that, it might be news to me, although if I am seeing it right, I've seen them kind of hint that that's where they think they're going. It would be news to me if they came out and directly said, we think Ethereum's a security, but they've done it enough. I mean, they've made enough hints, like with Prometheus and or Prometheum, I forget what it's called, you know, to hold these. You can kind of see that's where they're going. Yeah. And yeah, that's another reason why they're delaying. They were doing everything they could to delay in our lawsuit. What I think happened is that when all of this came out, crypto in general, I mean, the SEC, so, you know, just to back up a little bit, I sue government organizations all the time on the personal injury side. You know, I sue the VA for some of the horrible things they've treated veterans at their, you know, hospitals and other facilities. You know, I've sued other organizations, you know, where accidents have happened. And it's just this mixture of corruption and incompetency at all of these places. And when I sue somebody, when I sue the government, what I get is some low-level person at first. And then they have to, and just to get something settled, you know, they have to run it up an absurd chain of command, and it has to get up high enough. And so, you know, the people at these high levels are the ones that make the decisions. And sometimes, and they make decisions because they don't know anything, or because they've been captured by, you know, some lobbyist or some promise of, you know, big money when they leave. Yeah. When they leave government work. And so that's how our government in the US operates. It's just a fact. hardly anything is done with good intentions or for the right reasons.
Right.
And with that in mind, you get something like the SEC, where crypto comes out, and in the first, 3-4 years, when Bitcoin's not super huge and nobody really cares about it, and people are making fun of what it is, and it means nothing, it's kind of like, we don't need to pay attention to this. But then as the money starts getting bigger and bigger, that's when the SEC notices it. That's when the CFTC notices it, when FinCEN notices it. Because when you start talking about money, you start catching the ear of the government.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing that that government agencies do is they love turf battles. They love fighting each other to try and take as much turf as they can, because Congress has, through a lot of delegation laws, said, we're not really going to do anything. You guys do your own turf battles. And, that's that. And so they do these turf battles. And now you've got, when the real money started coming in, and we were talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, now we're at trillions.
Right.
The SEC was decided, hey, we're going to say all of this is securities, because, there are some aspects of crypto that make it a security. There's some aspects that make it a commodity. The problem is that it's neither completely. That's why it is its whole new thing, and why it needs a new regulatory framework. But because Congress isn't doing that, these, lots of different agencies are fighting amongst each other. And as everybody knows that's aware of the Hinman, Jay Clayton, don't give him a pass saga. Right. They basically, these agencies have high-level lawyers and CEOs coming in all the time, talking to them in their ear. And, we'll never know until we get internal documents and get these people under deposition what the absolute truth is. Those two things are likely to never happen. Maybe on the deposition side, if our case gets back into discovery, but, there's just certain things that we won't know. And what I think most likely happened is, you have a lot of people that were lobbying Hinman and that whole crew to give Ethereum the free pass, to say, listen, let's just get Ethereum out the door. Because there were a lot of other people and a lot of other moneyed interests in the SEC saying, no, let's go after all of it. So they did their backroom deal to push Ethereum through by name. And then that was the last administration. Remember, that was the Trump administration.
Right.
With Jay Clayton and Hinman. And now this new administration comes in, which is much more beholden to the Warren side of the political spectrum, which is now anti-crypto.
Right.
So now they're like, you fools, you let Bitcoin get through.
Jeez.
You can't let anything else get through. So don't let anything else get through, or it's going to be your ass. Wow. And, now they're basically saying, all right, well, we can't let that through. So now what are some reasons we can come up with to deny it? And, the only reason I think that they let Bitcoin get through is that there's nobody to sue. If they had somebody to sue and collect $1 billion, fine from, then they would have gone after Bitcoin a lot earlier. But, God bless Satoshi Nakamoto, whether people know who he is or who he isn't, the fiction of, at least we don't know who he is enough that nobody can go after him for money.
Yeah.
And so you can go after a lot of other coins for fines and fees and whatnot. And so that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And now I think they're just, it's a behind the scenes turf battle to see if they can go after Ethereum, if the bell can be unrung from what the CFTC did. And, that's why you're seeing, HODL law was there first, but now a lot of other people are jumping in with lawsuits, which I appreciate. I'm glad, and the more the merrier. Right. And we're just gonna have to see where it goes. Long-winded answer.
No, I love it. That's a lot of amazing insight. I guess my question for you would be, based off of what we've been told, Brad goes in, he tries to be, be an open book, kind of show them everything that they're doing. Why do you feel that they actually went after XRP? I know you're really involved in that area. Why do you think they specifically went after Ripple and XRP?
Oh, just money and politics.
Okay.
And, the reason for that is, remember, XRP, and thank God I didn't get into XRP when it was at $3.84.
Yeah.
And anybody else that's still holding, I'm sorry. You should have also averaged down when it was down at 17. But I got in, I think, when it was $1 on the way down, and averaged in. So I'm okay.
Right.
But people got to remember that there was a time when XRP was the second largest digital asset. It was on the heels of Bitcoin, and it was this, from a company that had the, most amount of XRP by far and away, and still does. And, that's an issue. Ripple has shown integrity in how they manage their XRP treasury, but you can't deny that they obviously are by far and away the largest holders of it. And it was designed to attack the way the banking system works. It was designed to take out all these middlemen fees. And there were a lot of people. I am speculating what I'm about to say, but I am at a 99% confidence level that there were a lot of people coming to the SEC from the big banks and from other organizations saying, we are very alarmed about this. Hey, look, and they don't even have to say they feel threatened. They can just say, look at this. This is a security. They're, doing all these transactions. Aren't you going to do your job? I think a lot of them were also telling them, hey, look, this can affect us financially as well. Remember where your bread is buttered. So keep that in mind. And so there were conversations, and some of these people that were leaving in the middle of when the Trump administration was coming to a close, who had already retired from the SEC, were coming back to the SEC and saying, nudging them along just to make sure this Ripple case was going to happen. Just remember, you got to sue these guys. We're getting out of here. Sue these guys. And so, the reason is that Ripple had a huge treasury of XRP worth tens of billions of dollars. They were threatening incumbents, and that was just all the SEC needed to go after it. And they were hoping that, they were certainly hoping that Ripple was going to capitulate, but they didn't. And now here we are, coming up on 4 years later, 6 years after they started kind of testing around to investigate Ripple. But that's why it happened. That's how the SEC does its thing. And there's very famous cases, not even before crypto was a thing, where the SEC would fire its own attorneys because they started getting too close to nefarious conduct by high-level banks. And there's documented cases of this where they pay out for wrongful termination of their own lawyers because they get a little too close. Now, I'm talking about the high up on the SEC. There's a lot of foot soldiers in the SEC that I bet do have good intentions. I still fault them for not doing more to rid the organization of the bad actors. But, at the top level, it's just politics as usual. Doesn't matter if it's an R or a D. It's, how do we, get our bread buttered?
Yeah, you brought up something here not too just moments ago about if they knew who Satoshi was, they would probably go after them, Bitcoin, for $1 billion or Satoshi. The $2 billion that they're asking from Ripple right now, what are your thoughts on that? Most people feel like it's ridiculous. There's companies that have done way worse things as far as committed crimes and things like that have not been sued for so much. Why $2 billion? And do you think it's just some type of ploy to get a certain dollar amount? Your thoughts on that?
It's just we've lost our credibility in front of this judge. Is what the SEC knows, whether they want to admit it or not, but they know it. They've gotten called out repeatedly, and they might as well. This is the very end. They might as well say, let's ask for some ridiculous number. And there's nothing that prevents them from doing that. You can put whatever you want in a pleading. All it does is hurt your credibility. And when you don't have that much credibility, there's no downside to doing this. So, why not? Let's just go ahead and throw out some massive number that, the Judge Torres is going to say, well, this is ridiculous.
Right.
So no, this isn't going to happen. And just even looking at, as Ripple brought out in their opposition, what other crypto companies have paid in fines, it's not even close. So it's just them, saying, well, we can't get it if we don't ask for it. So they just threw it out there, and it's not serious. And the question there is, does the judge get annoyed at that it was so unserious and get closer to Ripple's number? Or, do they say, all right, they've asked for 2 billion, I'm going to do 25 million, 50 million, and, we'll call it there.
Right.
That remains to be seen. It's going to be much closer to Ripple's number. I put out a call that I think it's 25 million or less, what I think she's going to order. So, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I love it. And we've talked a lot about Ripple. We saw that big boom in 68 that came all the way down when the FTX whole fiasco happened. It went down to like 15.7. A lot of CEOs were running away. It seems like certain corporations were leaving the U.S. There was a lot of downsizing. There was a lot of bank runs. But the one company that continuously seemed to grow, expand, hire, acquire new companies was Ripple. Would you say, based off of what you've seen, Ripple's a solid company?
Yeah, I think it's a very solid company, and you can tell by the way they continued to grow from when they when the last crypto winter was happening until now. I do own stock in the company, that I've got on the private market, so everybody knows that. Right. Two, what I would say though, just so I as a lawyer, whenever somebody tells me something, I'll trust it to the degree that I trust that person. But I always, because I've just seen it time and time again in litigation, even if you really trust someone and they have the best intentions, they could be wrong. Right. But if I see a news article, anything, I'm like, I'm not going to believe that until I see the facts. And so just on the, Ripple side, to make sure that nobody's too fanboyish on that company. It's a great company that I truly believe, but there's risks. And so we got a lot of redacted numbers from Ripple. And if you look into those redactions and try and look at how many characters are there and whatnot, and what they've said and what they want to keep hidden, it's a little unclear about how much of their revenue or how critical it is for them to sell XRP versus, the other revenue they generate. Now, it's unquestionable that a lot of revenue is from selling XRP. The extent of how concerning that is what is that percentage and how healthy is the company outside of that? And, so that's an unknown. And if the ruling comes out a certain way with respect to ODL, I can get into that if you want me to, but Absolutely. It could really hurt the US side of their business. And that could actually be a good thing if it hurts the US side of their business, because it could become a huge international company. But in my opinion, I think an IPO is going to be very hard for them to do in the US because of all the bad blood with the SEC. I mean, even if this case settles, or not settles, but when the judgment comes out, if the SEC or Ripple appeal, I just don't see the SEC willing to allow an IPO. And that, could take or at least slow dragging their feet on it. And that could force Ripple to go launch offshore. And, the other thing then too is, and this could be bad. I mean, there's just so many directions this can go. So I'm really going off the speculation chain here.
Appreciate it.
But, with what we just saw in their last pleading, how their opposition brief, how they've done their ODL that uses XRP now, all based out of Singapore.
Right.
That, it could be, Ripple could become less of a US company and more of an international company, and more companies that specifically or maybe even antagonistic to the US could start using it. And, that's a way that XRP could get a run for a more, not a world reserve currency, but more of a global currency unit than it is now, which would be sad, because, it would be going basically against the dollar. And other US countries and companies would be more inclined to use it. And so that could completely play out. And it's sad because we're in America, and, I like to see America succeed, but, because of our regulators shooting themselves in the foot, they could set up Ripple and therefore XRP to be a lot bigger than maybe it would have been had they, stayed in the US.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sad that we have to go through this.
And it still helps us as XRP holders. So
Yeah,
I mean, it's bittersweet, but it's
right.
a possibility.
Right. Well, obviously, we know that this the litigation they've been going through and everything with the SEC has kept the price suppressed. You know, I want to ask this question again, not from a financial or a financial advice standpoint, but where do you see if this was to, they get some type of fine, they pay that, they're able to move forward? What do you see XRP maybe in the short term that probably be predicated off of, the retail or whatever, versus the long term? Because you get a lot of prediction for, from even Ripple themselves, what XRP needs to be in order to do what it was created for. You see these evaluation from Val Hill Capital about where it could be in the next 5 years. Where do you see the asset in the next, in the short term to the long term? And again, not financial advice, just your opinion, if you will.
Yeah, I think that there's so many different directions it can go. You kind of have to think about what the probabilities are. So the first thing is that I think once there's a settlement, especially if that number is low, like that 25 million or less, or really anything under 100 million,
right,
you'll see XRP jump up, very similar to the way it did when the July 2013 order came out. So, that can double or, slightly more than double. And I think it can actually hold that level for a little bit, right on that news, for as long as you see no announcement of an appeal.
Okay.
And so after the judgment is in, that's when the appeal deadline starts to file your notice of appeal. Okay. It's just a one pager that says we're appealing. Either the SEC.
How long do they have to file an appeal?
Normally it's 30 days, but when one of the parties is a government, it's 60 days.
Wow.
So basically that's going to come out. The ruling should come out in August. And then, by the deadline would be in October. And I think if the SEC comes right out and says, immediately after, we're going to appeal, you'll see that it'll just be like it was in July, where you had that run up and then it went down, a couple of days, or even like by the end of that day. I can't remember. I just remember I was sad when I saw it go back down. But and I also remember FOMOing in at like 72, 73 cents. Be like, it's only up from here, baby. So I think it'll go back down if you get a quick not notice, but if the SEC is like, we're going to appeal. And then if they don't say anything, and then you just get the notice of appeal that comes through the filings, then I think you might see, I think if it's reached a level, it'll kind of hold somewhat solid there, or take a little bit of a dip. But the appeal itself won't happen to the Second Circuit. What with the timing of how briefings are written and how the time for each party and how long the Second Circuit is going to take to decide it, that appeal is not going to get decided until the end of 25, if not early to mid 26.
Okay.
So at that point, I just think XRP is in the cycle, just like any other coin that'll be swept up in the cycle. And I think it won't be as suppressed as the last one because the initial litigation will be over with.
Right.
And, we're just going to be in that appeals. And so, I'm looking forward to it. But, obviously, if what I think might be, I thought it was more likely, I'm kind of down at a 50-50 right now, which is after the judgment comes in and say it's a low number, that the SEC just says, we're done with this. We've taken our losses. We've got other potential winners we can fight. Let's settle with Ripple. You get the settlement, because they can even convince Ripple to pay them more money, which would be the smart play.
You mean in addition? So if the judge comes out with a 25 million, they can actually negotiate more to say, hey, if you give us this, we don't have to file an appeal, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. So the judge could say 10 million or 25 million. And then what, again, this is the smart thing to do for the SEC. So I guess probably they're not going to do it, but it's what I would do, which would be, I would call, the Ripple attorneys, and I would say, all right, well, you guys got that $25 million judgment, but we're going to appeal. And, Ripple says, well, we'll appeal. And then the SEC is like, well, you know what? we won't appeal, but how about we tack on another 75 million? You pay as a cool 100 million, and we're done. We'll get the settlement.
Wow.
And they could do that, and that actually would be a lot better, and Ripple would jump at it. So
yeah,
just when you see that come through, I think there's more of a chance the lower the number is, because the higher the number, the more confidence the SEC has. And they're like, well, we don't have to do anything. We're just going to take our $2 billion
right.
That the judge ordered.
Right.
But the lower the number, Ripple can say, listen, we feel bad for you guys. We'll throw you another couple milli, and let's get this all done.
Right.
And at that point, maybe saner heads prevail at the SEC. Maybe they're too deep into it, and they just have to, they're fighting Coinbase, they're fighting Grayscale, they're fighting everybody else. But they can still have those fights and just let XRP and Ripple slide as a one-off, because they are unique. That it would be the smart move. Again, I just said it'd be the smart move, so they probably won't do it.
It probably won't do it. Yeah, that's definitely, they always seem to do the opposite. And you've talked about, and we're very honest about the fact that you start dollar cost averaging a dollar down. There seems like there's a lot of people who are frustrated because obviously it's not the sexy coin. It's not like Shikaka coin that just blew up 1,500% in a week or something like that. Doesn't exist, or it doesn't have 15 zeros. And you think most people like looking at crypto like a lottery ticket. It's one of those things that you really have to know what you hold. You have to understand what it was created for, being it for the long run, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice. What do you say to those who are just frustrated right now? Because again, that could be, you obviously have had those feelings yourself. What do you say to those who are frustrated and maybe even want to jump out now or jump ship before, what would you say to those guys?
Yeah, well, one, I have had those feelings of frustration. Two, I'm not really good at interacting with the chat on the service you're using, so I can't, but I am watching it, and right. I see Crypto Navigator asking a couple of questions. I know you got them down on the screen.
Right.
So one, we're not suing the SEC for delay tactics in the Ethereum case. Well, technically we are. We're saying they've delayed unreasonably, and now we get an answer. But on the on these XRP questions, one, I would be happy to do a lawsuit, and I know John Deaton's got he's signed up a lot of XRP holders as amicus, as amicus in that SEC case.
Yep.
The case that I had filed a year or so back and withdrew temporarily was against Hinman and Jay Clayton. Personally, because the thing with that, and I'll try to get to that frustration question, is that it's extremely hard to sue the government because there's something called qualified immunity, where it's basically you can be as incompetent as you want as long as you're doing it in the name of your government job. And so the example I tell everybody is the Bernie Madoff case. The SEC got sued. The judge said, you can't sue. And in the judge's opinion, she's like, listen, I get it. The SEC was incredibly incompetent. They were absolute idiots. They didn't know what they were doing. They were asleep at the wheel, horrific negligence, but it's just something you can't do. You can't sue them. They're immune.
Wow.
And so, that's a problem. And so I tried to get around that by suing those two guys directly because of all the things they did outside of the SEC.
Right.
That we know of their connections to other businesses that they went to work for and profited from, what they did by leading the charge against Ripple. And so, but the thing is that these lawsuits are very expensive. So, it would be great if everybody chipped in for something like that. And, maybe we'll see something like that in the future. Some of those possibilities. And maybe they're already being worked on right now.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
But I got this way and felt this way in the last bull run, which XRP got up to $2. So even then was disappointing because it didn't even hit its all-time high. And right before it started running is when I was most depressed, thinking that I didn't, get into the right asset. And I didn't sell any of my crypto in the last run, and I just watched it go very high and then all the way back down to even by the time the market ended. I've been starting to feel that way again this time, and so the only reason I'm not as sad is because this is the exact same thing I went through last time.
Right.
I got a friend into crypto that I've been trying to get into for forever. And his name is Brett. And then he started telling me about Brett coin. And we got to get in on the meme coin. And, I did. And I was up like 50 to 60% on it right now.
Right.
And I'm just looking at, and I'm like, come on, XRP, why are you down more than Brett coin for me? And, I'm dealing with, I just got this buddy into crypto, and now he's telling me that XRP is basically like treasury bills, the yield that they're getting. So I'm trying, but that's good because XRP runs the hardest and the last. And I just hope that same thing happens. All of the factors are in position for that to still happen. But I mean, crypto's crypto. There's always a chance that some Luna type event could happen. And I say that not in the sense of Ripple will, become a fraudulent company, but it's just something that, some people see coming, but nobody quite saw coming. And, something gets wrecked. The judge could do something in an order out of left field that completely wrecks Ripple. Again, I think it's extremely unlikely, but it's not 0% chance.
Right.
And so, that's always out there. So, if you're all 100% into XRP, you've got some diamond hands, and I'm impressed. I'm not. I'm diversified, and I at least have some other things to fall back on. At one point, XRP was my biggest bag, but my other bags have gone above it. And that's unfortunate, but true. And it is what, all I can say is it is what it is. But I haven't lost hope. You shouldn't lose hope yet. There's still hope to be had, and let's let this bull market go through. And if XRP really doesn't take off in this one, then I'm going to start having real deep second thoughts. But we're not there yet.
That's right. Yeah, no, I always tell people this, the same thing is you got to be diversified. I was very fortunate when we had that run up to take out, quite a bit. And I think that's what you have to have levels. Obviously I have longer term bags and things like that. It's all about having a strategy. But I do believe that if Brad Garlinghouse, one of the things that he talked about here recently is seeing, maybe possibly by the end of 2024, being a $5 trillion market cap. If that happens, if you saw a Bitcoin over 100,000, if that happened, 110, 120,000, I would imagine many assets would go up just by default, including XRP. And I think if for some reason, like you said, if there was a settlement or some type of payout, it would definitely be super bullish, I think, for the asset. And, because you just keep looking at certain things that have been in place. Obviously, like you said, July 13th, 2023, XRP is not a security. And it just feels like we're close, right? When you look at the timing of everything, it feels like as everyone else is getting into the muddy swamp, XRP seems like they're kind of stepping out, maybe cleaning off the shoes a little bit. And you see the stablecoin. And by the way, your thoughts on that, since I brought it up, wasn't expecting that right now, but what are your thoughts in regards to this whole, the stablecoin act that's trying to be passed right now, plus the fact that Ripple has now announced that they're going to be getting into the stablecoin space? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm both happy and concerned about it at the same time.
Okay.
Here's why I'm happy, because Tether has made an enormous amount of money as a company from their stable coin.
Yeah.
And despite all the FUD and everything else, it survived, and other companies are using it. Ripple's using Tether. We found out about that in the pleadings that were filed in the opposition when you start digging through them. And I think there's some more interesting stuff in there. I still got to dig through everything and really digest it. And Circle, they've got their USDC. That's a huge moneymaker. And so stable coins are a huge component of the crypto industry and are going to be very important in moving money around.
Yeah.
Ripple getting into it is very good for the company Ripple Labs Incorporated, without a doubt. And it is also very good for XRP holders if their stable coin on the XRPL takes off and is used as well. But the concerns are Ripple is not just doing a stable coin on the XRPL. They are doing one on Ethereum. and they're also using Tether. In fact, for their US ODL, they've already, just as a precaution, stopped using XRP and ODL to satisfy the judge.
Right.
They're using Bitcoin. I think they said they were using Tether.
Yeah.
And they kind of said in a couple of other things. And so, the problem there is, the concern is, if the judgment hurts them too much, then they won't use XRP as much because they'll try and get around it. Now, how likely is that? That's more on the unlikely scale, because just from a self-interest perspective, they have so much XRP and it is very important to their business. So they don't want it to die. Now, that's different from everybody, having hopes and dreams and pinning everything on Ripple for XRP, right, because that's not what it is. Ripple is just a large user of, or the largest holder of XRP. But, you can't deny that they're a large holder and what they do is right, important. That's and right. So if they start moving away from XRP, and a US based business is like, okay, well, I don't even want to use XRP in our branches in Singapore because I don't want the hassle of the SEC dealing with me, that everything started in the US. That's the problem. And so those are the concerns with it. But extremely bullish for the company, should be bullish for XRP. The negative aspects is, are they going to get dinged enough by the judgment where they're not going to want to use the stablecoin on the XRPL as much? Right. And then the stablecoin legislation, there's good aspects of it, there's bad aspects of it. The problem with any congressional bill nowadays is they just put a bunch of shit in there. Excuse my language, but no. They just put a bunch of stuff in there, and right, then if someone wants to sue and say this is unconstitutional or not appropriate, then let them sue. Right. There's not much of a thought into how strong the legislation is. It's just who paid for what provision. So it's all about how it's enforced, used, and whatever. But there's definitely good aspects in there, and some negative aspects. I haven't done the deepest dive in that one either, just because until it gets serious, goes through some committees and is up for some votes, it's almost like not even worth, thinking of. Because you think of Elizabeth Warren, I think she's put forth, 100 bills and none of them have ever passed. So why waste too much brain cells on it? Exactly.
Let's shift over to Fruition Productions and this documentary that they have coming out right now, XRP Unleashed. They cover, ETHGate. They've had Stephen Aroff on, and this thing is supposed to be humongous. They brought on some of the most brilliant minds in the space. John Deaton's also on that, and they're looking to pitch this to Netflix in a 6-part docuseries. What do you think that documentary means to crypto, XRP, the community as a whole?
Well, there's the first win, which is that it's even being made in the first place. That means that I've had a chance to interact through some other interviews with some of the people involved. I haven't been directly interviewed or anything, but I've been on shows where they're doing filming, and I've got buddies that have been doing it. And the production setup is professional and substantial. Yeah. And I say that because that means you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on equipment and people, if not, a couple $100,000. Yeah. And you have to think that there's a market for that documentary product in order to put that kind of money up. So that's win number one. Win number two is if Netflix does pick it up, well, and that's huge because of the audience you'll get, because you've got that capture of everybody that is a Netflix user. Yeah. And then, if Netflix has it, promotes it as one of their top 10 documentaries, then you're going to get even more eyeballs, millions of eyeballs. Right. And then you'll get it more into the mainstream and into the narrative, and then other people pick it up. And then another documentarian will do another documentary on it. So it's awesome. The people that are doing it that I've interacted with are all great, and I'm real proud that it's getting done. And the production value from the trailer teasers is very high level. I mean, I think anybody who's seen movies recently can kind of tell, this production sucks, or, this is a shoestring budget or not. And whether they are on a shoestring budget or not, I don't know, but they're doing well enough to hide that fact if they are, because it looks very high level, very polished, very finished, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. Chris and Maya are the two owners. They're a married couple. They got into meme coins, started off in Doge, made millions in that. Got into Shiba, made millions of that. Rolled that into crypto. So they're funding this all themselves. They got more than enough capital, and they've definitely put out a first class effort. My next question would be, as we get ready to close out here, where do you see crypto in 5 years? You see some crazy predictions by Kathy Wood at ARK Investment. You got Michael Saylor and these guys. I mean, they're coming up with numbers like, oh, well, we thought 1.4 million for Bitcoin, maybe 1.6 now, and all these different numbers that are coming out. If that's even possibly, true, where would that put Ethereum? Where would that put a lot of these other assets? Where do you see crypto? And then obviously we got a lot of other things that's going on here in the United States. We got possibilities of war. We got possibilities of depression, recession, inflation, all these different things. How do you see crypto in the next 5 years between now and 2030?
I think a way to see where that is look at where crypto was 10 years ago. And it's always fun to go see the top 10, top 20. And, I didn't get in until 2018. So when I go back to like 2011, 2012, I see all these coins. I'm like, what the heck was that thing? There were like a lot of them too that were like really high up. I'm drawing a blank on some of them right now, but they were pretty, I guess, probably funny now because they're defunct and they were so much. But I think in 5 years, you see a huge shakeout of what's in the top 10 now or top 100 versus what's going to be then. But, it'll still be going strong. I think there'll be a lot more of a shakeout where you won't have as many because there will be some regulation. And so the costs and regulatory compliance costs will just prevent a lot of it from happening. So you won't have as many. That's right. You'll have a lot less projects. There'll be a lot more consolidation. That's just something that always happens in any industry. I think you'll still have meme coins because it's just a fun social thing to do. Yeah. That you don't have to do any of the regulatory compliance for, as long as you set it up in the right way and, just kind of push it out there into the void and see what happens. So I just think it'll be a lot less. It'll be a lot more regulated, a lot more structured. And I don't think you'll have the wild upswings anymore. It'll be a mature industry and, all of the, it'll just be more like stocks. You won't have the crazy upswings as much or the violent downswing. So, obviously when 2010 was the time to get into Bitcoin, and you still could do a lot in every cycle. You could still do really well in this cycle and on all the other coins. But time is running out eventually. So, maybe 2 more cycles, 3 more cycles before it really starts to slow down and the gains just aren't there as much. But we'll have it. And I think we'll have it in a greater degree because our world currencies, which right now is the dollar, and to some extent the euro and the yen, but they'll slow down and you will have these digital currencies. I think there will be a gold-backed one. You might even have it's terrifying to think, but you might even have a world CBDC at that point. So it'll be exciting and terrifying at the same time, 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess my question in my Jim Carrey type of mindset, so you're saying Chicago coin has a chance?
It's got a chance. We just got to get it together, get a great little icon for it, and then really drive the engagement.
Hey, I've been getting so much feedback on that. I'm telling you, is I got to really look into that. Now you brought up something here in regards to, you said CBDCs. There's so many mixed feelings. Where do you see it, good or bad? Is it inevitable? I mean, is it something that no matter how we feel, is it going to happen? Globally, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I mean, the way, and I've looked into it as a hobby. There's definitely more serious academic thinkers than I on the histories of currencies, but the way that it operates is, and everybody's probably heard this saying, he who controls the money, has the power, wields the power, controls the world, whatever the various sayings of that saying go. But point being is that money is a huge power lever. And so the more you can control it and make more people beholden to a particular type of money, the more power you have. And it's just a fact of human nature is that there are certain humans that most probably that love, if they can get that power, they love having it and love wielding it. So, there'll be some type of world money at some point, though it's just too, I mean, it's already happening in other countries. It's just too much of a temptation for, the power players to let it go. You can track everything. There are some benefits to it, like people that evade taxes, going to be a lot harder to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
However you feel about taxes, there's some legitimate reasons to pay them. People that use it for, horrible things, like human trafficking, that will help reduce that. At the same time, there'll be other currencies that people will use, like Bitcoin or other currencies that'll eventually take over for kind of black market, off grid or off CBDC currencies, to allow this to happen. It's just the human condition that'll keep going on and on. And so I think we'll have a few CBDCs, just like we have a few major currencies. And I think the bottom line, which is so scary, is that it'll start out, which is, oh, this is a great thing. You don't need cash. We just do your phone, this and that. And then it's going to be, oh, you can't, this money that we just deposited into you, you got to use it in the next 2 weeks or else we're just going to take it out of your wallet. And then it's going to be, oh, just FYI, that money, that CBDC, you can't use it at these stores because they violated all sorts of these patriotic laws. And then it's going to be, oh, hey, you can't use your money anymore because you're not sufficiently patriotic enough. So that's it. So I think we're a long ways away from that point, but I think we're going towards that point. So you've got time to prepare. Just, prepare and have that plan ready.
Yeah, that's a bit scary. Thoughts on, the old system that we're so accustomed to, like SWIFT and versus XRP. How do you see that from a political standpoint?
As it becomes more and more obsolete, it'll just die. And you're seeing right now, it's interesting because I've heard people that, talk about SWIFT and kind of make it seem more than it is or more important than it is. Let me see if I can organize my thoughts better. It's an old messaging system that is, increasingly obsolete, but it is still around because people still have value in it because of the network effect. But as you see other countries easily start to bypass it and other people start to not care, and then the people who use SWIFT and like it start to realize they're losing out to other companies that are bypassing it, you'll see some new system be put in place. And, that'll just be another version of SWIFT, So, that's the problem of any digital currency, including XRP, is that if all of a sudden everybody around the world said, we love XRP and we're going to use it and use it exclusively, the US would say, not on my watch. We're going to say no more XRP, and they'll take some type of step to prevent it.
Wow.
And so, that's why it's got to happen in a more structured and orderly process, which, currencies rise and fall. And, you've seen that with every currency. The dollar shouldn't be any different. But it seems like the next thing we'll move to is more of a world currency that's something. It's some type of world currency, whether it's backed by gold, whether it's digital, whether it's something. It doesn't seem like another nation is going to step up and have the power like US or Britain or Portugal, if you're going back, 300 years, had with their reserve currency. So SWIFT will eventually die out and be replaced. And, what it gets replaced by is going to be, critical. If it's XRP or if it's the XRPL and it's, the stable coins on the XRPL, well then, geez, we just won the lottery. And if everybody agrees to it, every XRP holder is going to be fantastically wealthy. So it all depends on what happens, and you got to hedge accordingly.
Yeah, I think when you look at the technology and what it was created for, to allow these assets to settle fast and quick. And so that brings me to my final question. When it comes to your views on BRICS, Ripple, and the Bank of International Settlements, how likely is something like that to play out?
Well, so they're kind of opposing BIS and BRICS. BIS is more Western aligned and BRICS obviously isn't. And so, the thing is who's got the power and money and ability to impose their will. Right now, BRICS doesn't have it because none of their national currencies are really that trusted. And, at the end of the day, everybody's still going to use dollars, and everybody still likes the fact that the rule of law is respected enough, because if you're honest with yourself in the Western countries, and, at least in America, in my experience as an American over the last 20 years, the rule of law is degrading, but we still are pretty good at it, better than others for the most part. So as long as that's still holding out, then BIS, SWIFT, that whole kind of block is going to continue to be winning. But if it's all just a confidence game. So if the confidence is lost, and it can be lost very quickly, then it's over with, and then BRICS can win. And if they've got a gold-backed currency that people are willing to use, and they can trust that they'll get their gold, then that could take over, in fairly short order. So, we're just not privy to everything that's going on behind the scenes, but also this stuff is telegraphed. It's never really that much of a surprise. And everything is being telegraphed that the old monetary system is coming to a close and the new one is being created. And can that happen? I don't think it can happen in 2 years. Could it happen in 5? I think that's on the early end of it. But, over the next 5 to 15 years, we're going to have something radically different, and either going to be really favorable depending on where you live in the world, or, really unfavorable. So that's why you just have to hedge your bets the best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna ask you guys to do me a huge personal favor. Go over to Fred's X page. It is Freddie Riz, at Freddie Riz. And then also you guys can go check out his site, which we'll pull that back up as well. And that is right here. And that is actually called HODL Law. So if someone's looking, I know you've got a lot of things going on right now, but what services for the everyday user that might have some concern? Maybe they got in a project that they found they were scammed, rug pull. Maybe they an exchange they were part of that's no longer here. Are those some of the services that you offer, and what else past those services do you offer with HODL Law?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, click on legal services. I got a nice little graphic set up. So what we do is, if you're we do a lot of small to medium sized businesses. One business I love working with is Reaper Financial. Huge fan of what they are doing there. And, obviously I work for them. So full disclosure, but we work with a lot of businesses on staying compliant, as compliant as you can, if you're going to be in the US. But also, if someone came to me and says, I want to start this crypto-based firm, whatever they're doing, what should I do? I have no idea what to do. I'll say, well, don't get started in the US if you can help it. And then here's, how I can help get you set up, somewhere else. So it's helping businesses, all things crypto, again, on the small to medium size ones, with any aspect that you might want any legal consultation on. Listen, if you just want a lawyer's opinion on a particular issue you're about to take, just so you can have it in the file to help protect against something in the future, or mitigate any type of damage if a regulatory agency is like, no, you messed up, that's something that we do. I also, continue to like to help the individual. So we do class actions, we do individual cases. Right now, we have a class action against Coinbase for all the Songbird tokens that they stole from their customers.
Yeah.
Just straight up jacked them.
Yeah.
And we're in the Ninth Circuit now. I won't get into the weeds on it, but we're fighting over some procedural things. And a lot of people have, signed up as being interested in going down that route. So you get screwed out. If you get screwed over with an exchange, I would love to help. If you get screwed over in an airdrop or some type of attack on your crypto and they're able to steal it, A lot of times, once it's gone, it's gone. But there are times when we can kind of trace things back, claw back, and get some type of redress for customers or for clients. If issuing NFTs, dealing with royalties with artists and that kind of thing. Just all things crypto. There's only a few things. I'm not really nothing's jumping to my mind of people I've turned away. But any crypto question that you want to talk to a lawyer about, give us a call and we're happy to answer it.
Well, I got a couple for you myself, so I'm definitely going to be reaching out and acquiring your services. Some serious things that I've dealt with. So I just kind of, it's okay. It's 15,000 here and there, but no, I'm definitely going to reach out to you. So guys, do me a favor, look up. Check out my brother Fred Rispoli's site is absolutely incredible. Fred, any final thoughts for those who we have almost 900 live watching on X and on YouTube? Anything that you want to end with? Anything that you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, just to make you feel a little bad, James. I was letting you do it the whole thing. Rispoli. I'm just giving you a hard time. No, it is Rispoli. It's a very Italian name. You're in Vegas, so you're going to be at XR. So you were there last year?
Yeah. Yep, I sure was.
I apologize, I missed you, but I would just say any place in particular where we should meet up and just have a couple drinks.
Absolutely, man. Especially 6'8", it's hard to miss me. So.
Oh wow, 6'8". Okay.
Yeah.
You can't tell from sitting in your living room.
No, not at all. And it's a backdrop there. Everyone's like, man, you play piano? I was like, I don't. It's just a backdrop there. So, but no, I'm looking forward to meeting you, and definitely got some things I want to talk to you about. So, guys, make sure you follow my friend Fred. I appreciate you in a major way. Also, guys, do me a huge personal favor. We've got Ladies' Night coming up this Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to that as well. Fred, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for all that you do, and I'm gonna definitely continuously share your information and stay connected. And definitely want to hang out in Vegas. That's gonna be amazing.
All right, definitely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. For everyone else, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for now. Again, the 900 live that are watching. We'll see you guys a little bit later. Have a great evening. We'll see you guys soon. It's your boy James, aka 68J. Peace.